Omega, Episode 3 Better Left Alone. Another night in this dark and cold planet has begun. Unlike the quiet nights before, though, where even the wind would not dare speak, tonight is a special night. The sound of yelling and crackling fire meets us in a field, two figures running from a horde of others, one wielding lightning, shooting bolts into the angered crowd. And not far behind her was a muscle-bound man, his skin cracked like a rock, trying his best to keep up. In a small valley you could see the two of them running into its mouth. Sitting in shadow were two others, waiting for their time to pounce. Next, Onyx and Sophia ran past the two hidden in shadow. It was time to unveil their plan. The first to show himself was Oscar, who created a wall of fire, stopping the horde in their tracks. Following up was Abraham, creating a second wall of ice, completely ceasing the horde's movement. Or so they thought. Within a few moments, the once pristine ice was ruined by flames of anger, melting away, revealing the face of Ishin, his hate as hot as his fire. Our group of four continued their sprint with confidence, as it was time for part 2 of their plan. Everyone was starting to run onto a frozen pool of water, the horde of people slipping and sliding upon, while Abraham with his metal broke the ice ahead, creating easier terrain for him and his allies. At last they saw a huge tunnel that had bored into the icy lake, by who knows what. Sliding down the tunnel, Abraham, using all his energy, collapsed the frozen entrance, leaving the four in relative safety. With a moment to collectively rest, Onyx noticed who was with the group. "Oscar!" he said, lifting him off the ground with a hug. You could hear his back pop from Onyx's grip. "All right, it's good to see you too. Now please put me down. You're killing me," Oscar begged. Onyx put him down, looking around the tunnel at the others. With a thumbs up to Sophia, he looked at Abraham with curiosity. "Who's the little guy?" "That would be our friendly Omega," Oscar answered. "It's nice to meet you." Abraham extended his hand, where Onyx shook it. But it was obvious that he didn't even know his own strength, as Abraham's hand was almost crushed. "Well, it looks like we're all okay. Should we set up camp?" Abraham asked. "I think that would be for the best," Sophia said. Together they set up camp, with a fire to keep themselves warm. When they realized Onyx didn't have any supplies, but that was easily solved, as Oscar had an extra sleeping bag with him, as if he prepared for Onyx to lose his equipment. While Sophia told an old Stormmancer story, outside the tunnel, Ishin stood, his 2 pieces of metal white and hot, burning away the cold rubble. "Prince, there's too much debris. We won't get through it all anytime soon. Do you not think we should try to find another way?" one of his followers advised. With Ishin's anger building and building, he unleashed a powerful beam of fire that reached into the sky. It took the shape of a phoenix. With his power, he hammered into the rubble, creating a cascade of fire upon the ground. But to his disappointment, it did not budge. "Fine. We'll split up into 3 groups. There must be another way in. And if you see Oscar, do not engage. I'll take him myself." Ishin's calm demeanor had disappeared, leaving him like a beast. The horde of people, though, split up and searched across the vast frozen lake. While inside the frozen tunnel, our group of 4 were warming themselves to a blue fire. "So, Abraham, quite impressed how powerful your weaving's gotten," Oscar said, throwing an empty ration container onto the fire. "Oh, it's nothing. There's better weavers than me," Abraham replied. "No, it would take many years to master the raw strength you showed off today," Sophia confirmed. "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see you master even more weaves," Oscar exclaimed. And going by the Omega cycle, the easiest to master in order would be stone, fire, lightning, blood, and finally shadow. "I'll teach you stone weaving," Oscar interrupted. "I've got fire, and I think Sophia has lightning, so let's get the main 4 weaves. Isn't that right, Sophia? You could easily teach him lightning. You're a prodigy, after all," Oscar said. It was obvious that Sophia wanted to brush away the question of training Abraham. "Maybe, but I'm a bit tired right now." She snuggled into his sleeping bag, closing her eyes. Oscar shook his head. "Well, We should probably follow in her footsteps and get some of our own sleep. Our group of 4 then retired for the night, unaware of what was lurking in the dark tunnels below. With a new day rising, they descended deeper into the hole. The tunnel walls were circular and clean, as if something had cut through it with perfect precision. At first it got darker and darker, as Oscar used his fire to guide the way. Suddenly, though, the ice started to glow, illuminating a large cavern, with huge icicles like chandeliers upon the ceiling. Odd insects littered every crevice. They were wonderstruck, but only for a moment, as the ground started to shake, dislodging a large boulder of ice falling upon Onyx. With all his strength, he grabbed a hold of the boulder, throwing it aside. Abraham looked stunned. Just the size alone would require heavy machinery. But how is it even possible, he thought to himself. You know, it's not the first time he's done something like that, Oscar told Abraham. How did he do that? Abraham asked. Stone singers, well, have inhuman strength. There are stories of entire groups of them throwing tanks on across the battlefield, Oscar informed. Abraham looked at his hands. So, I could do that? With the right training, of course. While they continued to talk, Sophia noticed something. As the rest of them were engaged in conversation, a new part of the cavern had opened up. Sticking out her finger, she could sense air coming from it. Think I found a new way out, she shouted, with her showing the rest of the party. They continued along their way. While on the surface of the planet was Ishin with his search party, looking for any opening in the ice. Next to him was his friend Jack, tired and stumbling. Sir, I think the rest of us need a break. We haven't slept at all. Ishin turned to see his followers lagging behind, some even looking as if they were sleepwalking. Fine, but only for a little bit, he said. Sitting down, something was on Ishin's mind. There are only 16 people in my class, and me and my followers make up 13, while Sophia, Onyx, and Oscar make up the rest. But there was someone else with them. Could it be the Omega? I thought I took care of him. How could I have been so foolish not to check if he was truly dead? And if he's working with them, he's more than likely known what I did to him, and who attacked him. But a better question to ask myself is this. How am I going to defeat them? Onyx is easy. Just wait for him to exert his energy, then strike. Oscar is just as fast as me, not to mention his fire is hotter than mine. But sneaking up on him has worked before. And what about Sophia? She's deadly with her lightning and likes to play defensively, shooting her weave from far away, then rushing her attacker. Maybe rushing her before she could react might be good. But maybe I should wait for her to attack. Either way, she won't be easy. And finally, the Omega. There are 2 questions that matter when taking him on. First, how many weaves has he mastered? And how much rage does he have for me? Jack sat next to him. So, what are you thinking about? The Omega's alive, Isha replied. He told Jack about everything he was thinking. I see. Well, remember you have an entire group of people loyal to you. But, if you don't mind me asking, why are you trying to get rid of the Omega? Because he'll be nothing more than an ESF lapdog. He's more than likely been brainwashed by those scoundrels. And imagine the power they hold politically and physically if the Omega gets off this rock. Yeah, I could see how that could be bad, but couldn't we take him with us? Show us how true weavers are like? Ishin stood up. Are you kidding me? The ESF watches him like a hawk, not to mention the Omega's first impression of a true weaver was being attacked. Anyway, we need to start moving. With their conversation ending, the search party continued, looking for any sort of opening. But beneath the ice, our group of 4 were far from stopping, a path illuminated by glowing ice, with the feeling of wind in their faces. While walking, curiosity overtook Onyx, who decided to see if he could grab a piece of the glowing ice. Punching into the wall, thinking he grabbed a piece, Onyx ripped out his hand. Instead of ice, or even water, it was a glowing goop. Onyx, why? Oscar asked. I was curious, he said. Next time you might hurt yourself. Is everything okay? Abraham interrupted. He tried grabbing the frozen ice, Oscar informed. What even is it? Abraham wondered, as the 3 of them looked at the odd ooze. Whatever it is, it smells terrible. Sophia walked deeper down the tunnel, wind whipping with a lot of moisture. She used her lightning to light the way. While moisture was starting to appear on the tunnel walls, wind whipping in rhythm, one current of wind followed by a second, then a third, rinse and repeat. She continued slowly and concerned, while the rest were still talking. "Don't eat it, Onyx!" Oscar shouted. No, we could do a little more. "It might help us understand what it is," he said, pulling his hand up to his mouth. Before Onyx was able to consume the goo, Sophia rushed back to them. "Guys, you might want to look what I found. And, Onyx, please don't eat that. You won't like where it comes from." Sophia looked absolutely disgusted. "Fine," Onyx said, rubbing the goo onto the slick wall. "What did you find?" Abraham asked. "You're going to have to see for yourself." The slick halls went on for what felt like an eternity. More and more goo lined the walls. Oscar walked next to Abraham. "Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?" he inquired. "I mean, it would be fair. You did tell me a bit about yourself." "Who's your master?" Oscar asked. "His name's Leo. He's a pretty old guy, but he's the closest thing to family I've ever had. Raised me since I was a baby." "There's only one notable man with that name. The Ice Lion himself. That makes sense why the ESF had no control over you." "He did fight alongside Omega Avedon in plenty of battles during the Unification Wars, and made many friends politically, too. A great man. Both sides of the war respect him, or so I'm told." Over time, the slick tunnels became slippery and smooth, almost making a few of them slip on occasion. The rhythmic winds started to pick up. It was a mixture of cold air and damp rot that overtook their senses. The path opened up into a bioluminescent room of blue, almost blinding them. At the end of the cavern looked to be an opening to the shivering outside. Almost on every inch of the cavern's walls were holes leading deeper into the earth. With a quick celebration from Oscar, something moved. It wasn't until their eyes finally adjusted did they see it. A large, coiled creature was sleeping, blocking the only exit. It was leaking a bioluminescent goo from its end. Onyx looked almost disappointed that he didn't try the goo. Its head was like a wedge, with large tusks protruding from its shut maw. One could only imagine the force behind them. The rest of its body was black and snake-like, though. "We could sneak around it. There's a small gap between it and the wall," Sophia suggested. "This is ridiculous. Is no one else terrified?" Abraham quivered. "Come on, Omega. If you really wanted to, you could try to cut off its head with ice around us," Oscar teased. "And if it just makes it mad? Well, yeah, that would be bad. Well, guess back to our original plan. Who wants to go first?" Abraham looked at them. "Are any of you at all bewildered by the size of this thing? It's the size of a building, and none of you guys are fazed?" "You should see the hawks of Amora," Oscar informed. "Or the lizards of Adrena," Sophia interjected. "On my home planet, we have milk beetles twice the size of that thing," Oscar said. With Abraham shaking his head, they went along with their plan. Onyx was first up. He inched closer and closer to the Titan, gripping the cold wall. He slowly started to crawl. As much as he didn't want to admit it, Oscar was terrified. His heart was beating out of his chest. At the end of the day, they were all just kids. It was when Onyx made it halfway that 4 people came from the outside. It was obvious that they weren't there to help. They immediately saw the serpent and Onyx, but from where Onyx was located, he could easily be cornered by them. Abraham and Oscar and Sophia tried to get his attention, but were afraid that they would wake the slumbering Titan. All they could do was watch as the others got closer and closer. Abraham wasn't going to idly stand by, though. He had to do something. If he yelled, Onyx would more than likely have to fight all 4 of them and a creature. So Abraham pointed his metal toward the ceiling, and with all his might pulled the ice loose. Huge boulders came crashing down, separating Onyx from his would-be assailants. Although the plan wasn't too thought out, as a loud, ear-piercing roar echoed throughout the cavern. A hungry red eye was staring at Onyx as if it was stealing his soul. Hey there, big guy, Onyx said. The Titan reared its head, ready to devour him whole. Onyx lifted an icy boulder above him with ease, throwing it into the beastly creature's maw, giving him ample time to run back to his allies. The serpent had a groggy rage for only our group of 4. The would-be assailants, though, were of no concern to it as they ran back out of the cavern. Abraham was the first to sprint down a tunnel, followed by Sophia, Oscar, and Onyx. The Titan serpent slinked throughout the tunnel, effortlessly nipping at Onyx's head. Annoyed, he turned around, his cracked skin glowing emerald green, holding his bald metal, smashing it directly into the head of this beast, a shockwave of force behind it, forcing the Titan back, giving our team a moment of respite. "Hurry, Abraham, while it's down. Try collapsing the tunnel," Oscar commanded. Abraham's hands were trembling, lifting his metal to his side, fearfully trying to move the ice again, but to no avail. Trying again, his metal was unresponsive. A roar came from the Titan as it reared its tusked mouth at Abraham. Once again they were sprinting through the tunnel. It gained speed, charging them as fast as a speeding car. Pushing themselves to their absolute limits, they were confronted with a dead end. Behind them, a row of razor teeth. They were going to die right then and there. Until Abraham noticed something. The glint of light cascading upon the icy wall. A possible way out. He had already failed once. He couldn't again. Metal to Abraham's side, moving his weapon, enacting his will. A wall of ice turned to water. Glimmering sunlight flooded into the hole. Abraham was met with a sheer drop, and no physical weight down. He once again enacted his will onto his metal, combating against the hidden will of the metal that had always been there, creating a slide of ice for him and the rest of them to escape safely from the charging Titan, only a few inches away from devouring Onyx. The Titan, though, stopped at the edge, roaring from the hole, now above them, before its snaky body slithered backwards. Our group of 4 laid in the soft blanket of snow, their eyes adjusting to the sun. "You know, Omega, I was going to blame you for us becoming snake food, but I shouldn't be surprised at you pulling us out of trouble at the last second," Oscar said. "I'm sorry. I should have been able to collapse the tunnel earlier," Abraham lamented. "It's fine. At least you saved us," Sophia said, placing her hand onto his shoulder. "That was great!" Onyx yelled, raising his hand up. After collecting themselves, the 4 of them walked forward to their final destination, hope in their eyes. Only 1 day away from escaping this frozen tundra. If only it was going to be that easy, though, as looking from upon a cliff was Ishin, with a vicious smile across his face. Ishin knew it would be better to trail behind, waiting for the right time to strike, to get his revenge for his family.